In your view, how do females get empowered?
How do females get empowerment? The way of female empowerment. Obviously, I'm a bloke, but I do have a view on this because in my work, I speak to mainly women, and I speak to them about their personal lives mainly, and about how they're getting themselves and how they're getting life. And one thing that I've really noticed is that my view is this, put it simply, that a woman and women in general will not become fully empowered until they finally are able to take 100% responsibility for how they're getting life. They will not become fully empowered until they realize that actually you can't be dominated without giving permission. And until they realize that who you're being, that men are, gives you how you get them. If there was a way that men were, everybody would get them the same way. But there isn't a way that men are. And how a woman gets men is given by who she is being that they are. And if she can see that she is getting them given by who she is being that they are, then she has the power to transform that beingness once she's seen it. Some of it will be unconscious. So who your being that I am right now is giving you how you're getting me. If, for example, you had a dad with grey hair and a beard, who always thought he was right, you might be seeing me now through that focus. But if you had a lover who looked like me, you might be seeing me through that focus. There isn't actually a fixed way that I am to be seen. So it's not a fixed me that's giving you how you get me, it's who you're being that I am that gives you how you get me. The same man is gotten differently by two different women. And this is because there is no fixed way that he or they are. And what gives you how you get them is given by who you're being that they are. So, it's a lot of responsibility to take on. It's not the truth about men and women. It's a stance that you can take, which is empowering. If you take the stance, I am a victim, I'm a woman and I'm a victim to men who abuse me, who dominate me, who take my power, who confine my self-expression, and whose fault it is that I'm not all that I could be. There is a context which you can inhabit, which will have all that as being true. For sure, there is a context, and no doubt you'd be able to gather huge numbers of other women who will support you in that conversation, who will support you in that context. But will it free women by holding that context? And the answer is no. The freedom comes when you realize that the victimhood is not taking a victimhood stance is not the pathway to empowerment. The pathway to empowerment, not just with men and women, but in every situation, is by recognizing that it comes out of you. That actually who you truly are can't be dominated except with your subtle permissions. But these permissions are not always like blatant. They're very subtle. They're very subtle allowances. They're very subtle agreements. They can be deeply conditioned. But once they're seen, then there's a possibility of transformation. So the path to empowerment is to recognize that who I am being that somebody is gives me how I get them. Men don't get men the same way as women get men. If men were a particular way, then everybody would get them that way. That's a basic principle that needs to be understood. Not all women get men the same way. If men were a certain way, then all women would get them that way. So the path to empowerment has to be taking full responsibility for my experience of life. The path to empowerment has to be that the recognition that somehow, somewhere along the line, women agreed to the status quo. Women agreed and allowed men to be that way with them. And in future, women will no doubt have it that they are allowed to choose how to be communicated with. And that to say that it was force, it was, because a lot of the time the argument is, well, men just bullied women into submission. It doesn't really, you can't hide in that anymore. There has to be a stage further. What were the payoffs for women in being subdued by men? Yes, I know there were a huge number of costs, if you like, negative results that came from that. But what were the payoffs? Who didn't women have to be as long as they got dominated by men? Who did women get to be as long as they got dominated by men? What did women not have to do as long as they were dominated by men? These confronting questions can bring tremendous liberation. This is in no way condoning bad behaviour by men. It's simply a conversation about how to empower women using these models of who you're being that something is gives you how you get it. It's your responsibility how you get it. I hope it's helpful. But do you have any questions or comments from that?
I don't think so.
Would you agree with that?
For the most part, yeah.
What doesn't get you? What don't you resonate with what I said?
I mostly resonate with it.
Do you think it's helpful for women?
Yeah. It's a better perspective than the whole thing of being a victim and blaming everyone else and all of that.